Why am I on another graveyard? Why do I have this urge to clear out all the junk and make it look all nice? What is going on? Am I supposed to be a vampire? Graveyard keeper? Vampire? Graveyard keeper? Damn it, Gary, you knucklehead! This is the last time I listen to a talking skull when it comes to what I can eat in these lands. Those mushrooms make me think I was a vampire and I was able to terrorize some local population. But I guess I'm back, so let's get the sermon on the way. Day 101, and so I was back and I decided that for the next 100 days I will try to focus on getting those items to open my portal and to try stop ignoring all the other content like all the DLC I have. I especially wanted to make sure I will have zombies, so I spent all my points on upgrading in the alchemy tech tree and getting the steel tools. After that, it took me forever to harvest my crops, and I started to consider if the body Donkey brought over would be a decent zombie. Problem was, I still did not have access to things like silver injections, and to construct all the alchemy mills in the basement is going to take a while. Day 102 started really early as I worked on getting my steel tools and finally a better hammer, as I kept the rusty one from the start of the game and it took me forever to build just about anything. By the time I was finished, I was exhausted and I started to run out of energy and food, so I made a lot of people angry by not making the gluten-free bread. But I'm European and we take baking of bread seriously, and I went to sleep with the smell of bread being made. Day 103 was super busy as I started it by burying the corpse Donkey brought over, after which I made my pallet shipping machine, because from the previous 100 days I was able to accumulate ridiculous amounts of crops, allowing me to make 6 gold crates and 4 silver crates. By the time I was done with all this, I was again exhausted and I went to sleep. Day 104 I spent by moving the crates to the merchant store, but as I had to conduct a sermon, I postponed the expansion of how many crates I can ship, and when I was done, I was able to expand the overall capacity of the store by 2 pallets. Day 105 I did inventory run of the church's cellar as I found out I would not be able to make any more candles. Then I continued to expand the store's pallets by 2 additional ones, putting in even more goods, as while I was processing all the wood for my morgue upgrade, I realized my crops were done once again. On day 106 I had to deal with the merchant, but because I was still lightly poisoned from all the mushrooms I was consuming, I forgot that the crates are shipped at the end of the day when he leaves. I was therefore not able to discuss the 7 shipped crates with him, and I will have to wait until the next week. When he left, I made over 1 gold in sale, and I spent the rest of the day by purchasing seeds from the farmer, selling my burial certificates, and I started to restock the store with the leftover silver crates, and Snake did not want to help me when he passed me. On day 107, I worked on turning even more of that fat you will never burn at the gym into candles. Maybe I should call them way candles and people will buy them. Anyhow, I started to work at the mortuary by installing the workbench to make zombies, few racks for storage, and so far the bodies which Donkey kept bringing were actually good candidates for zombies, as so far none of them had those wicked body parts like dark organs, which could actually allow me to make decent zombies. Now, unfortunately, I had to bury the bodies for now, as if the body decays below 90%, you cannot zombify it and you will have to burn it or keep it at the graveyard. Day 108 was proof that I need more zombies. Just more efficient zombies. Come on, how long does it take to grow grapes? So I planned to go to the mines, but I had to replant my crops and grapes, but I was running low on fertilizer. On top of it, there was a body, so I was running all over the place trying to get things done and clear out as much of my inventory so I can start working on further expansion. Day 109, I teleported myself to the quarry where I grabbed a bunch of resources I will need, like coal, gold, iron, limestone, silver, sulfur, and I went home. And I wanted to start smelting things, but again I clicked on something and one of the furnaces started smelting just 1 iron bar, and I was not able to cancel it, truly living up to the name of the channel, not your professional walkthroughs. After that, I got another juicy body, which will also be a good zombie one day. One day, if I do not forget where I keep burying these damn bodies. I could have sworn I had at least few more somewhere around here. On day 110, I felt like I already went through 10 days, and yet it feels like I did absolutely nothing. This is not good, so being so motivated, I decided to go to the mines for some stone by the waterfall, which I followed with my sermon about how the time goes by way too fast, and I spent the evening rolling in dough. Day 111 was super busy day as I did spend it by hoarding stone from the closest deposit, and I needed all that stone for my distillation cubes as I was able to construct the first one in the mortuary. Donkey brought over a simple body which I will be able to add to the cemetery, and late at night I was researching silver and gold for the injections I will need to fix all these bodies. On day 112, Merchant was back at the village, and I worked on upgrading the promotion for the store so I can sell the maximum amount of pallets. But I did ran out of feathers for the ink, so I had to buy some more, as you can actually have your own feathers and egg production, but you need to finish the refugee camp for that first. On day 113, I screwed up because I was not paying attention to the progress in quest line for Snake, as I needed to reach 20 points in his summoning chamber, which I already did, but by the time I got there, he was leaving. But I am getting ahead of myself as I was working again in the church's cellar on research and alchemy, or I tried. I seriously need longer days. Day 114 was finally story related stuff, as sure I spent almost half of it waiting for Clotho to wake up so I can purchase my apple seedlings and berry bush seedlings, but after that I went to talk to the Inquisitor and I had the guards removed and the gypsy woman released, which I followed by getting exhausted in my vineyard. Day 115 could be referred to as Rich Lord Day or Spoiler Alert Day if you have not played the game and you would still like to give it a try. Anyhow, I went to talk to Gary and I gave him the silver wine, which he drank, and he said that it does not have enough alcohol and he requested cognac. But as nobody was selling or making it, I was unable to provide it for him. So he told me to dig around the village to find the old keeper's keg. I went and I spoke to the gypsy baron, finding out that Esmeralda was dead, but her daughter, Miss Charm, is actually the astrologer's daughter. So I went and told him about it, after which I learned the kebab recipe from the gypsy baron, and when I was digging around the village, I came across a metal sphere in the ground as the local blacksmith interrupted us. On day 116, I finalized my apple and berry orchard, which took me almost half of the day to complete, and I barely made it to the sermon, where I again complained about lack of time, and I spent the night in the cellar studying a lot of things for the red points, which I followed by talking to Gary about how if I open my tavern and in the cellar we can keep the old keeper's device, which we can use. When he said that I can make some money, he was right, to the point where I believe the tavern breaks the whole in-game economy, as once you start selling silver and gold star quality wine for the profits, you can make some ridiculous amounts of money, as apparently nobody has to pay taxes in here. I just wonder if the devs fixed not being able to sell the meals. I guess we will find out. Day 117 was punishment for what I said about breaking the economy, as I went to the Dead Horse Tavern and spoke to Miss Charm, who did not want to discuss her father. But the fun truly started when I went and spoke to Heradric about buying land around the village. He told me the price is 9,682 gold, 54 silver, and 11 coppers. Talk about inflation. So as I said that probably there is not that much gold in the whole kingdom, I was given an advice that if I talk to Dig and get the land in his name, I am eligible for discount, and when I went and talked to him about a cake, I went back and suddenly the price went from 9,600 gold to 30 silvers. What socialist benefits are put in place in this location? Seriously, what a discount! On day 118, I purchased a bunch of seeds from the miller and the merchant, and I continued to discuss with him our plans. I wanted to know how was his dinner since I cooked a corpse I thought was a little too far gone, but I guess the Big Mac sauce I used worked to cover the taste. He told me that for further progress, we will need support from Miss Charm. Great. First, I asked about her personal life, and now I need a favor. She's going to love me. But I did go home and upgraded my carpenter's workbench so I can craft jointings which are needed for the alchemy desk tier 2 so I can start making those silver and gold potions and refine them furthermore. On day 119, I went to talk to Snake as he liked the decor. Seriously, I think even Slipknot would like it here. But all serious, now he told me where to find the artifacts I need to crack the portal open, and also he requested a damask sword. Fun thing is, when I was told by the guard where to meet Kukol, we have discussion about the necklace and I bought the sword, and simultaneously I went bankrupt as I had only 45 coppers left. Day 120. Ah yes, our first milestone, yet it did not go well, as I finally had access to the alchemy workbench as I was able to gather all the necessary ingredients for my silver potion. But when I first made it, it gave me this strange goo. So I had to try again while also making this day amazing for every vegan watching as I had to study lentils for the gold potion. Day 121 was a good day as I went and talked to the astrologer and explained to him situation regarding Miss Charm. He told me where the golden angle is and gave me the calculations to fix the mill. I went and talked to Corey as I handed him before the 12 planks and nails and simple iron parts so that he can finish some barn. But he asked for 50 silvers and I had 0 money right now, so my tavern will have to wait. Later in the evening, I fixed the mill and spoke with the farmer, so I received the papers for his daughter to accompany Miss Charm to the city. Day 122 I spent by building 2 alchemy cubes of the 2nd tier, but as it was sermon day, I conducted that as I was actually happy as all this research I was doing was costing me fate points like crazy. And because I spent most of my money on the damask sword, I had to study it and get like 150 red points from just that one thing alone. I spent the night working on the crops while it was raining because I will need more goods for shipping, as I can pay Corey and get my tavern and sell all that wine just sitting in my cellar. Day 123, I was able to start making the gold potion as I researched the injections so I can start making those as well. I went to the Dead Horse Tavern through the shop, which made me really happy as I had sales from the previous week in value of 86 silver. When I however discussed promotion of graveyard veggies for my shop with Miss Charm, she wanted jewelry for return, and when I handed her the paper for the farmer's daughter, she said she needs signature from an aristocrat. Problem was, when I came to the church, it turns out the license costs 12 gold. God damn, that's a lot of dead bodies, or well, lots of drunk people. Day 124, I went to talk to the merchant about his salty fork. Well, it was more like listening to a monologue, but you get the point. I went and paid Corey those 50 silvers to get my establishment built, and I also went and bought a bunch of hops and hop seeds because when Inquisitor shows up, I can provide burgers but not beer. Day 125 I spent in the basement by playing God with Snake. I gave him the Damascus sword and his worshippers showed up. Hey, is that you, Jeff? Why did you miss the last sermon? Wait, Snake, what did you say about being stabbed? Oh my god, I'm dying. And so I was stabbed with something that did not look like the Damascus sword I handed to him, but let's not go into discussion of how big it was. When all the acolytes saw me when I returned, they believed the nonsense of immortality. Like if I would believe any of that. Wait, but I am immortal. Yeah, never mind. After that was done, I went to the Talking Skull. my new tavern, and Gary gave me a terrible Yelp review. So I had to go and make a wooden doll for the brand new Saw movie number 26, or whichever one was the last one. And it got possessed by Yorick, which was explained to me that I do not have to pay him because he is dead already. Day 126 started by Snake waking me up from my sleep, as apparently the stunt we pulled got his stupid followers all chatty, and a vampire hunter or witcher is headed for the village, so we need to stop him now. Great, another knucklehead for me to deal with. The rest of the day was a little disappointing, as I realized I still did not have brewing stand for beer, plus it requires hops, wheat and water, so I was not able to fill my stand for the Inquisitor's witch burning. But what I did at least was pick up my 8 White Skull corpse and turn it into my first zombie food-delivery service, while he shipped the crates to the store and later booze to the Talking Skull. But the zombie apocalypse has officially begun. Day 127 I spent by making my brewing facility operational, as I started with 1 brewing stand and I made the 10 gold beer, after which I made the second one, and with all the running around, the day was over sooner than I would like it to be. So I ran to drop off the beer at the Witch Mountain so I can let the Inquisitor know I am ready the next time he will be there. On day 128, I got really mad as I did my sermon after making the woodcutting spot for my zombie in the woods. And during the sermon, I realized I'm missing an incense. So when I wanted to use the alchemy table of tier 2, I realized it won't let me make the basic potions, only the ones with 3 ingredients. And so like a dummy, I had to make another alchemy workbench. Well, at least I discussed with Bishop his mirror of pride. On day 129, I decided it's time for another zombie, so after exhuming one of the nicer corpses, I actually got to work in the church's cellar, as I needed a couple of things like more fertilizer so I can keep growing my crops. I was then pleasantly surprised when I carried the second zombie to the logging camp, where there were already plenty of logs waiting to be transported back to my base. Day 130, I exhumed a corpse with terrible stats like 3 red skulls, 2 white skulls. Not even sure why I buried it, but I found even worse corpse with like 1 red skull and 1 white skull. So I started to work on that while I went to work on my vineyard, which led to another big harvest, which I followed by making unholy amounts of firewood. Seriously, Inquisitor would be so proud of me as I crammed it into my brewing stand and realized I will need more water. Day 131, I continued to use gold injection on the terrible body, and look, I know it won't be a zombie, but at least when I bury it back at the cemetery, it will have much nicer stats, as I still need to reach 200 points, and I have stopped the new bodies from coming in until I have at least a couple of zombies set up. Besides that, I wanted to discuss one thing which I still hate about the game, and it's brewing of beer in your basement. So hear me out. For you to make a batch of beer or mead, you will need 50 water. That is a lot of buckets of water. Sure, you can get the water pump, which eliminates the extractions of water buckets, and you can pull like 200 units of water out of it before it runs dry, but nobody will carry the water to the basement for you. And considering that the well is dug around the place where you have either your brewing station or your pallets with goods, nobody thought that maybe building some faucet downstairs in the cellar would be a nice idea. No, you will always be the one who will need to bring the water to the basement so even your zombies can brew the beer on your behalf. Day 132 was a busy day as I went to the Witch Hill to speak to Inquisitor about his burning coal. This was followed by burning actual witch, where I was able to finally start selling my Heineken and Big Mac combo. Yes, you fools, keep eating. Sure, smoky taste, just keep eating the evidence. And since I was at the Witch Hill, I decided to go and talk to Snake. And here is where we are going to break some of the day counting, as when I brought over the plank he requested, we had to wait for 4 days until Geralt showed up. And when we turned him into the new poster for Witcher Season 3, which is the real reason why Henry Cavill will not be in the 4th season, I carried his body to my morgue, and no amount of blood, fat removal, silver, gold injections could help me save this corpse. Day 133 can be referred to as Day of the Talking Skull, both literally and figuratively. So I decided to finally install in some tables so people have something to sleep on. I mean sit on. I installed this massive display for artifacts from IKEA. I have covered in depth Stranger Things DLC here on the channel. I even have a special playlist for all the cutscenes for each artifact if you are interested. I will try to leave the link in the video. Just keep in mind these are not your professional walkthroughs, so if I forget, remind me in the comments. The literal part of the day was talking with Gary as we uncovered the machine inside of which was the Old Keeper's skeleton, and I was told what to bring in order to activate it. The funniest thing was how when I brought the Old Keeper's body to my morgue, he had 2 brains. You know, because guys have 2 heads and we often think with the other one. Get it? You guys have no sense of humor. Day 134, I kept busy with my sermon duties, which I followed by researching glue and alkali. Now I had to go to Clotho in order to get the death solution, as unfortunately this can be only obtained by you grinding up the dark brain or dark goop. And I was not really killing those enemies or having those body types yet, as I was slowly working towards having lie injection, glue injection, silver injection, gold injection, as these are the keys to a great zombie. Day 135, I did something which a lot of people don't know is possible, as my trunk where I keep my seeds and crops was getting too full, so I took 6 stacks of crop waste and I went and sold it to the knucklehead who thought I was a vampire, and he forced me to eat garlic. This I followed by going to check on the sales at the tavern, as I also went and shipped 5 gold crates of crops to the store and took my previous week's sales. Day 136 was farming crisis day, as I ran out of fertilizer, and because I will need it for both my farm and the vineyard, I was farming and harvesting simultaneously. I went to the farmer's house to buy more seeds in order to bring all these goods home so I can process them on the next day. On day 137, I had a chat with Snake, and he told me that I will need to reach the deepest floors of dungeon to obtain golden apple for him. Now my armor was not really upgraded, or the weapon which I carried around, and I did not want to spend a whole lot of money with Kukold to get all these things. You can technically cheese the whole dungeon and not do it by buying the golden apple from Clotho. I will see how things will turn out. Oh, and I was able to get my first 10 White Skull zombie, which is going to be my first farmer. Day 138 was another busy day, but unfortunately I was missing 1 burger, so I could not participate in the witch burning ceremony with the Inquisitor. So instead I worked on getting another body processed and setting up my first zombie farm. Day 139, I went to see the astrologer to obtain his Blue Point books. I followed this by a visit to the tavern, where 1 gold coin in profits was waiting for me, and our reputation was also getting close to reaching 1 star. I then went to the farm, as I had to start making the base of the flavor enhancer, which is required so that your zombies can grow gold star quality crops. Day 140 went by super fast, as I had to run to the church to do another sermon, after which I went to the cellar and made the flavor enhancer, and I made gold quality fertilizer, allowing me to upgrade both the zombie farms so that they can grow gold quality crops. Day 141, I could have sworn that the days are getting shorter and shorter, as I processed my crops, replanted a new batch, packed crates with goods for the merchant, and I went to bury the 7 White Skull body at the cemetery. Day 142 was Stranger Sins DLC dedicated, as I was able to bring my first 2 artifacts to the tavern. Now look, I won't be putting the whole cutscenes into the video as it would be too long, but back when I covered Graveyard's Keeper extensively, I made a playlist with all those cutscenes, so thankfully by this point I have left the link in either the video's description or up in the right corner. Day 143 I went to see Clotho, but when I found out that the golden apple costs 10 gold, I started to think maybe going through the dungeons is not such a bad idea. Plus, if you brew 50 health potions in game, you get an actual achievement. I know that wine restores HP, but considering how much money I was making while selling it at the tavern, I would not recommend it at all. On day 144, I started to run into another big problem due to my aggressive approach to growing crops for profit and my zombies using all the fertilizer for upgrades. I also ran out of ash, so I won't be able to make more, therefore I needed more bodies, and while I bribed Donkey, I went to the witch burning and made another 33 silver, which compared to sales for crops or booze at my tavern was not that much, but anything is good when you need 12 gold for aristocratic paper or 10 gold for 1 apple. On day 145, I went to chat with the astrologer about his Blue Point book, which I followed by visiting my tavern, picking up some nice profits. I got kind of mad as one of the bodies I had ready for another zombie decomposed to 90%, so I was not able to zombify it anymore, so I had to burn it. And I worked on getting my distillation of the apple and berry ferment up and running. Day 146 was church day, and I really need to start making changes to the graveyard if I want to get more money for donations or make the combo prayer. Either way, I started to make my booze so I can sell that at the tavern, as it was really great profit, and I also worked on finishing another body so I can zombify it. On day 147, I had my first 11 White Skull bodies, so I decided to zombify your grandmom, because instead of retirement home, she's going to end up in the salt mines, or the new McDonald's Grand Big Mac, or whatever we are gonna call it. So I went and took the zombie and put it in charge of my zombie vineyard, and the zombie which I had installed there previously, I put in charge of shipping the goods back to the merchant shop, and when I will run out of those crated goods, I will put him on moving the goods to the Talking Skull Tavern. On day 148, I had to go to the quarry for more supplies, as I did pick up the miner perk, so I was able to get gold and some silver, which I needed for the zombies rather than the jewelry for Miss Charm, as I supplied the Witch Hill with the goods for next burning, as this is not an infinite event, so you get like 4 to 5 witch burnings. After that, the Inquisitor is not going to burn any more people. Day 149, in spirit of the fact that Snake was here, I worked on getting a steel sword and armor while working on 3 corpses to see which one to zombify, as one of them with 9 white skulls I placed for logistics to the merchant store until I set up shop at the quarry for them. Day 150. Ah yes, the halfway milestone to let me know how little I have done. Okay, so I assumed the Inquisitor would stop the burning ceremonies because apparently the king must be possessed, as he was talking about how we cannot just grab someone, call them a witch, and burn them. That bastard! Anyhow, I was told how I will need to gather Dark Brain, Dark Heart, and Dark Guts for the Inquisitor, so after I was done crying over the fact that I cannot get the beer and burgers out of my stand, I went to work on my corpses. Day 151 was Zombie Abuse Day, as I had to push 2 bodies up the hill to the quarry, and while I was able to hold one above my head while his guts were dripping all over my head, I had to kick the other zombie up the hill. I think I have a piece of his ass still stuck to my shoe. Well, I bet he was a sweet uncle to someone, but I almost kicked his head off when I realized when we arrived that I forgot to bring the pickaxe. Fun thing was also how extracting dark brains from a corpse managed to remove exactly 4 red skulls. Day 152, I spent working on the supply chain for my stone, as I set up the first stone quarry, and I mined some iron as the zombie took portion of the large slabs back home. I went to check on the refugees, what do they need when it comes to the well, and I went back home to gather the necessary supplies, but it was too late for me to return to the quarry to put down the first stone storage. Day 153, I worked on finishing the stone stockpile at the quarry. Marky informed me after I built him a well that one more tent is needed and I will need to build them a garden as well. On day 154, I struggled as I was running low on food, so my plan was to finally start making more advanced gravestones, which I researched at the church's cellar. However, I was suffering as I had to even eat some berries in their raw state. God, I hope I will not think I'm a vampire again or something worse. I was also close to finishing another body so I can have my second 11 white skull zombie. Day 155, I finally went into the dungeons as I was a little desperate for energy, so I took apples, berries, even grapes. I was able to finish floor 5 and start floor 6. I know, long way till level 15. But when Donkey brought a corpse, I went out of the dungeon as I remembered I had 11 white skull body, which if it would decay and I would have to burn it, it would make me quite mad. So now I will have to set up the zombie for either iron or marble mining. Day 156 was a little confusing as sure I was able to deliver the 2 dark organs to the Inquisitor, but when I went for the option of everything being ready for the witch burning, we were able to actually have a good old barbecue session. I then went to the mortuary where I made another 11 white skull zombie as I left them out in the rain as I will need to set up for them the iron and marble mining stations first. On day 157, I again abused someone's dead relative in our retirement home as I kicked them up the hill. I'm so glad they cannot speak or complain. I set up a marble mine and an iron mine as I went to the lighthouse again for the blue books, and I went to the Dead Horse Tavern. I had a pleasant report about the overall sales. I went to talk to the farmer about being able to go inside of his home, but he had some weird idea about me showing him my oversized carrot. Pervert. Day 158 was another struggle as while conducting my sermon at the church, I once again did not have any incense and I was running out of candles as well. After I was done, I made a 9 white skull zombie that I put in charge of the pallet machine. I went back into the mortuary to have another 11 white skull zombie made, which will be my second farming zombie. I also unlocked the jewelry making in the tech tree. I hated day 159. So due to the lack of food, I had to eat the burger and my god was it chewy. I think I found even a toe in it. After that, I found my 11 white skull body decayed too much, so no zombie for me. So I had to burn it, and I know I could have buried it at the cemetery, but I just burned the evidence of my mistake. Good thing nobody is going to find out about it or ever talk about it. Day 160 was busy, or I tried to keep it that way, as I had to eat anything I can get my hands on. But I did start smelting some gold bars for the jewelry table once it will be constructed. And finally, it was 60 days since I started to do my actual job of graveyard upkeep by installing some nicer things on the graves. Day 161, so I still struggled with food, but look, I now can make more calorie-rich dense food, but the problem with that is that you can make a dish and you have to wait. So that complicates things as I have 8 to 10 minutes a day, which really does not give me the time to sous vide stuff. And so I worked on graveyard again as I had to exhume that one body with 1 red skull and 1 white skull and burned it. Also, fun thing, I was working on a body in morgue which will have 12 white skulls and 1 red skull. Day 162 I spent by making my 12 white skull zombie, after which I did alchemy as I needed to make the fertilizer to upgrade those zombie farms finally. Day 163 I went to the astrologer to buy his blue point books, which is just a way for me to then go to my tavern where more money is waiting for me. Unfortunately, I did not have fate points with me, so I was not able to start the event, so maybe next time. And I went to the merchant store, so now I have the 12 gold I need for the aristocratic paper. years. Day 164 was a little longer as I went to the cemetery where the bishop was checking out my polished marble. Why did that sound so weird? Anyhow, the knucklehead told me he wants 3 gold quality marble statues, which is quite the pain to acquire, after which I did the sermon and I took apart the old benches as I wanted to put in the better one. I went to the tavern and we had the first feast, which was profitable, but apparently the patrons of the establishments were not that happy. On day 165, I went with the signed papers for Miss Charm as aristocrat, as she said that the title did not make me taller or more handsome, which once again proves that you can never make a woman truly happy. I spoke to Wagner about writing a love song, which Miss Charm requested, and I was not thrilled when he wanted me to make him some acid. Damn, hippie. Anyhow, afterwards, I went to the church to install those soft benches for the people's butts, and I started to brew that concoction. On day 166, I gave Wagner his Monster Energy drink so he can make some new hit song. This I followed by finishing the last bench in the church, and I worked on some more graveyard decorations along with cooking some meals for the upcoming dungeon raid. Day 167, I made few more graveyard decorations, which I followed by finally going to the dungeon where I finished 6th floor and I started with the 7th floor when I finally came across the big spider. I say finally as I think their web is needed for some alchemy, otherwise I would just burn down the whole place. Day 168, I went to buy things from Clotho, and I say I needed my carrot enlarged, and apparently that is a popular request, as she said it would be too easy. Seriously, if we would be in business in that, imagine all those fake pills about enlarging your carrot on the internet, and these ones would actually work. We would be rich! Anyhow, after that I fixed the graveyard fence. On day 169, I went to the refugee camp so they can have their own garden, and I gave the vampire a bucket of blood, which he had to complain about. And they wonder why I barely show up. I then spent the night recycling the old wooden grave decorations for firewood. Day 170 was such a busy day as I was working on my masonry skill. I totally forgot I have a church full of people waiting for a sermon, as I upgraded the church's fence to the stone quality, and I got my gold chisel so I can make those damn marble statues. Day 171, I worked on getting those 3 marble statues for Bishop, and I got a little mad when I made a silver quality one, but whatever, I can use that for the porcelain columbarium. After that, I went to the tavern to pick up my new love song from Wagner, and he left a note, so I went to look for him at the cliff, where he gave me the song, but he turned into this beast. You see, kids, drugs are bad. Despite me promoting boner pills with Clotho a few days ago. Now I'm going to have to rescue this knucklehead. Day 172, I made one of those big statues for the cemetery, which I studied at the table before installing it. I also decided to work on the corpses in my morgue, and one had 8 white skulls, the other one 9 white skulls, and both are going to be buried at the cemetery. I also decided to exhume the Witcher's body, which was smushed into a poster, as no amount of alchemy was going to help improve its stats. Day 173, I worked more on the graveyard, putting in more nice bodies, exhuming the bad ones, and Yorick had to decide to mess it all up for me because he has anger management issues, as that knucklehead destroyed a bunch of gravestones for me. I swear, if he was not bartender at the establishment where I do not have to pay him, I would exorcise his dumbass by myself. Day 174, I installed 2 tier 2 confessionals inside of the church, and I worked on getting those stone repair kits, but I needed more clay so I can fix some of the damaged marble too. Day 175, I wasn't really sure what is the correct order when it comes to liberating Wagner, as I went to the astrologer, as I know he helps me free him from the fort, but apparently I will first need to give the song to Miss Charm, so I worked on fixing the graveyard from Yorick's outburst. Day 176 was super important day as barely I managed to get all the supplies built, the stone columbarium, and put it in all the gravestones and fences as I reached 200 points on the graveyard, and I gave the bishop also his statues by which we reached 206 points. God, now I have to look at him every damn day. We upgraded the church to cathedral and he told me I will need to invite the Inquisitor and get aristocratic papers. Problem was, I did not remember where did I put them. Please don't tell me I will need another 12 gold again for them. Day 177, I gave the poem to Miss Charm. She realized that Wagner loves her and she wanted me to save him, so I will need astrologer's help with that. I also dug out 2 bodies to fix their stats on the embalming table. Sorry, I don't have more hands. I need to kick you. Day 178, I went and spent a lot of money with Merchant as I did continue to work on fixing the graveyard by putting back those 2 bodies. Sorry, I can only kick you. Wow, thankfully people barely show up once a week at the church, as I don't think I would be able to do even half of the stuff I'm doing here if they would show up twice as much. Day 179 went by super fast as my priority was to upgrade the base shrines in the cathedral to the stone version, and as these require marble statues of bronze quality and I had to make 4 of them, and for some reason my marble was not being shipped in, I had to do it my damn self. Thankfully, however, the donkey brought over a corpse with the dark heart so I can give it to the Inquisitor the next day after I researched it, and I asked the Inquisitor to join me at the newly opened cathedral ceremony. On day 180, I went to talk to the Inquisitor as he told me he has no time to attend church despite having the biggest golden cross chain on his neck. So I handed him the dark heart he asked for and he went off on his crusade and I did mine. I was able to reach level 8 in the dungeons. Day 181 was educational day as I went to talk to the astrologer about his daughter's dilemma, and he told me we can launch an expedition into the fort, but he will need a silver quality book. So I teleported my Tushy back home where I wrote the book going back to the astrologer as he told me he needs to go to the university and I need to return in a week. What do you mean a week? I don't have time, you old fart. Anyhow, I went back home and started working on my new masterpiece as I made the golden book and eventually the golden combo prayer. Day 182 was combo prayer day as I was fussing so much about upgrading the interior intentionally, but it did help a lot as I was able to get around 48 fate points and 15 silver in donations. The good news was that I found where I left my aristocratic papers, so I won't have to buy them again, and I had to burn 1 corpse as it was laying on the floor for a day or 2 now, unfortunately as I was super busy. Day 183, I went into the dungeon where I came across this new enemy, which was this self-exploding energy orb. It kind of reminded me of Metro 2033, and of course because this is Graveyard Keeper, one of the electric powders got all buggy as I was unable to pick it up and it was chasing me around the map, warping through the terrain. Day 184, I went to try and persuade the merchant to come to the ceremony at the cathedral, but apparently until we do not get the promotion from Miss Charm, I won't be able to do that as he is a member of Royal Council. So I dug up another artifact for the Stranger Things DLC, which is the old hinge, and I saw the vision. Now if you are ever going to consider buying this game or one of its many DLCs, this is the only one I recommend as it explains how things got so messy, and for the money they are asking, you are truly going to get most out of it. When I was done watching the vision from the past, I went and bought the golden apple from Clotho. Day 185 was such a crazy day. Okay, so you know how I bought that golden apple? Well, I brought it over to Snake, and of course he wanted to lick it, and he asked me if I wanted a lick. Not sure if he was hitting on me, but I did go for a lick, and I got bunch of blue points out of it, and mono as well. Now you know, kids, that licking someone golden apple is a code name for God knows what. Anyhow, so after that he said he needs a dark heart, and I don't know how stupid I am as the stars aligned, and somehow I had one stored away in a bin. I swear I did not look this up or what Snake needs on the wiki, but I just had one, so I gave it to him, and that led to a big reveal about who Snake Father is. And the funniest thing is somehow the Inquisitor got teleported into the church's basement. His guards on top of it were able to show up, and they knew exactly where to look for him. How did they do that? What, does he have a GPS in that big gold cross chain of his? Anyhow, the two guys wanted to go fishing or something. Yeah, no licking of golden apples there, and they gave me the endless notebook and the burning charcoal, meaning I had two artifacts. But because I am overachiever, I went to the refugee camp where I made another tent, spoke to this lady who wanted to kill herself. I mean, I don't care, it's just more money for me. And I am broke after giving a witch in the swamp 10 gold. Which I'm starting to question if it was even the right call. What is she even going to spend 10 gold on? But yeah, she wanted kitchen, and I went and expanded the mining operation at the quarry. Day 186 went by faster, thank God, as I did bunch of science in the church's cellar. I made another 11 white skull zombie, and when I was extracting a dark brain out of the corpse, it slipped out and I botched the operation. On day 187, I got a little mad at the astrologer as he said that the book I gave him a week ago was so popular at the academy, people wanted a sequel. What is this? 50 Shades of Grey? I cannot just come up with these weird things just with the snap of my finger. You know, that can actually be in the sequel. Oh yeah. So I wrote him another book and I dropped it off as he said we can go soon on the expedition. So now I need to focus on getting jewelry for Miss Charm in the meantime. Day 188 I did twice, and don't judge me, I was doing it in the name of love. So I went to grab limestone for candles, I stopped at refugee camp to add people, I gave another sermon, and I went and talked to Corey, but he said he's not into crazy old chicks. So I talked to his brother Tress, and first time I was not willing to pay 10 silver, so I did everything again, paid him this time the 10 silver, and he told me that Corey loves a lucrative deal. So I was able to set up a date for him. I went to tell Clotho, who did things with my carrot, as I brought it to the farmer, who let me inside of his house, as I raided his chest, picked up his legionnaire's helm, and I put down blueprints for the jewelry table. On day 189, I thought I was not going to make it, as the time it takes to make the golden detail is ridiculous. But I was able to pull it off and make jewelry for Miss Charm, and she promised to promote my store. I went and I watched the vision about the Legionnaire's helm, and now to prepare for the merchant. On day 190, I had a bone to pick with my zombies when it came to shipments of marble to my place, as they were only giving me stone. I went and I talked to the refugees and almost punched a hole in the monitor when Marquis gave me the jewelry as a reward. I could have skipped this whole BS with making it my damn self. I went to the village and I spoke with the merchant about attending the ceremony, and I did bunch of work around the graveyard. On day 191, I was woken up by a female inquisitor who knows how to give a compliment. She wanted to play with my beard, but then she started to spray her perfume everywhere, which gave it the effect of like when you use a low quality toilet spray with the smell of pines. It just smells like someone took a dump in the woods. I continued that day by preparing dishes for the Talking Skull Tavern, as I looked it up on the wiki, and apparently meals are necessary in combination with booze in order to provide more happiness to the crowd. So let's see if it will actually work this time. Day 192 was weird as I got the same cutscene about the Lady Inquisitor, so I went and discussed her with the Inquisitor himself, and when he asked me about me knowing anything about the dark magic, dark rituals, or Walking Dead, I shrugged my shoulders and I told him no, despite him literally being teleported into my cellar and giving me the burning coal with Snake next to him. I then went and talked with the miller, and he said his lockpick was stolen, so I had to investigate who took it, as one of the crucial pieces of evidence was a rope, as someone tried to hang themselves in the middle of a wheat field. Eventually I found out it was the lighthouse keeper who stole it, and I will need to organize a comedy show for him in order to receive the invitation and to get the lockpick. On day 193 I went to talk to the astrologer, and apparently my love novels were so popular the bastard got a promotion. We were almost ready to go to the expedition when he said that I need aristocratic papers. So I had to go back home, and I thought I will go crazy if the teleportation stone won't get me there in time. But it did, and I was able to launch the expedition as we headed to the fort where Miss Charm kissed Wagner to break his curse. He promised to become knight to his father in return for letting us go, and I received a kiss. Nah, I got some stupid necklace and golden angle instead, which means only 2 more things and I should be able to crack that portal open. Day 194 was another long day as I did the sermon with the bishop and his brother, the merchant, who for some reason came from the swamp while everyone else came from the village. The brothers were so happy they decided to give me the Mirror of Pride and the Salty Fork. I later allowed the lighthouse keeper to do a comedy show at the tavern, for which I got the comedy invitation, which I returned to the miller, who in return gave me the ancient lockpick. I also traded Dick for his ancient amulet some booze, and I watched another 2 cutscenes from the past. I spoke to Cresvold too, but he will give me his ancient dagger only if I make Miss Charm perform at my tavern instead of the dead horse. Day 195, I started to use the eye I obtained at the refugee camp. I saw lots of visions, most were boring, but I got some enchanted vampire teeth. I found Clotho turned 33 soldiers into frogs, and I found a place where Yorick was hanged by his neck. Or it was his twin. My god, can you imagine having both of those knuckleheads to deal with? Anyhow, I talked to Cresvold about Miss Charm, and because I was running around with full backpack, I did not realize he gave me the ancient dagger, so I went on a hunt for some shiny dagger instead in the woods, which the Gypsy Baron was looking for, as the person who took it can be the new Gypsy Baron. Also, I picked up over 48 mushrooms in the woods, so that was fun. I cannot wait to see what game I will be dreaming of the next time when I eat all this. I spent day 196 at the refugee camp, where I built their first kitchen. I also informed Marquis about danger from Lady Beatrice, who has even ruined the royal wedding by accusing the bride of witchcraft. So Marquis asked me to build improved storage and automated well. I asked Master Alaric about Lady Beatrice, and he was not pleased to find out she's in charge of them. I then worked on getting some blue points in the church's cellar. Day 197 I dedicated to supplies I will need for the refugee camp, as there will be a lot of resources I will need to bring over. Question is, how much can I build, as it will all depend on their overall happiness. On day 198 I went to talk to the guy in my basement about the rusty door for which I needed oil. I spoke to the ghost, but he wanted pie, so I cleaned up a bit around, and I have to say, that statue reminds me of the Fifth Element movie a lot. I went to the refugee camp and I made 3 garden beds for them, and of course they will need fertilizer to grow better crops and a crap ton of seeds. Day 199 was a busy day as I crafted my 2 marble statues of tier 2. I gathered seeds for the refugees and I made a bunch of fertilizer so I can upgrade their farming capabilities. I also gave Donkey more carrots as I will need more bodies or zombies. Day 200 I decided to go out with a bang. The day started by me going to the refugee camp and upgrading their gardens, allowing them to grow silver pumpkin, onion and lentils. Unfortunately, their happiness was not high enough, so I could not upgrade the water pump. I went and did the final sermon, and I used the prayer of faith as all these high-end marble statues and zombie raisings were really expensive and I was almost broke. I went to watch the vision from the past about the old dagger as I managed overall to go over 7 artifacts, and when I finished that, I donated the dagger to the tavern, upgrading its rank even more. I traveled back home and slept to save the game, after which I grabbed the 6 artifacts and I had a great goodbye party at the top of the Witch Mountain as I opened the portal and out came my love. Wait, what? They changed the ending? When did that happen? The original was that the god with the red eye pulled you into the foggy place and as if reset the whole thing, making you do it all over again as if you were in some sort of purgatory. But I guess this is a nicer ending. And with that, I'm going to conclude another 100 days in Graveyard Keeper. I did focus a lot on the zombies and eventually the Stranger Sins DLC, as out of all of them currently available, it's the only one worth the money. I might do another 100 days depending on your feedback and the views, as I'm thankful to everyone who decided to join the channel, as your continued support means a lot to me during these past few months. But as I will be starting a brand new job in April, about which I'm both excited and nervous, these videos might not be as easy to be made, so your continued support and subscription to the channel will let me know that you would like to see more. Thank you all for watching, and if there are games you would like me to look into when it comes to 100 Days Challenge, let me know in the comments. Now I'm going to send someone grandmom into the coal mine because she did not fulfill her quota in the pumpkin farm.